my name is Rebecca Robinson. I'm going to do a presentation today about differentiation at the middle school level. While there isn't complete agreement about what differentiation means, the part of the definition that there is agreement upon is this. Differentiation is meeting the educational needs of all of the students in the classroom, taking into account differences in readiness, cultural background, interests, past experiences, and learning styles. Differentiation is especially important at the middle school level because of the deep tracking movement that's been happening since the early 90s. Deep tracking hasn't affected the elementary or high school as much because in the elementary level there's always been heterogeneously mixed classrooms, but within the classroom the students are grouped by ability level. At the high school, deep tracking hasn't taken hold because there's always going to be honors or AP classes that the advanced students are going to sign up for where the other students may not. So at the middle school level, there's been this shift from having homogeneously grouped classrooms to having heterogeneously mixed classrooms. And this can be a challenge. In fact, according to Petrilli, the greatest challenge facing America's schools today isn't the budget crisis or standardized testing or teacher quality. It's the enormous variation in the academic level of students coming into any given classroom. Hertberg, Davis, and Brighton describe a typical middle school classroom as having 27 kids with ability levels that range or span 5 grade levels. This can be difficult for the teacher because you have to make sure that you're accelerating the struggling kids enough where they're coming up to the level of the average student, but also challenging the advanced students so that they see growth as well. While differentiation is definitely important, there are some challenges that make it not happen as much as it should. One of those challenges Harris described in her study was about teacher attitudes. Some of the things that teachers saw as constraints to differentiation within their classroom was time and the fact that a lot of teachers didn't know how to appropriately differentiate within their classroom. Hertberg, Davis, and Brighton also saw an effect of administrator attitude. So they looked at 3 schools that were implementing differentiation programs, and they found that where the administrator was on board, was encouraging the teachers, was helping the teachers, there was a lot of differentiation that ended up happening within the classroom. At the schools where the administrator was either indifferent or not really on board with the program, there wasn't as much differentiation that happened. So despite these difficulties, there were some strategies that worked. Strahan, Cronenberg, Bergner, and Doherty described a responsive teaching strategy. And what that means is really getting to know the students, learning about their learning styles, their cultural backgrounds, their past experiences, and using that information to guide your instruction so that you can connect what they're learning now to what they know and their experiences from the past. Another study by Ozturk and Debelak described classroom competition as a good way of differentiation. The reason this helps with differentiation is that with a normal classroom assignment, there's a certain level that you expect the students to achieve at. There may be a rubric that says if you do this and this and this, then you're going to get the highest grade possible. Whereas with classroom competition, the sky's the limit as to where the students can go with it. So those advanced students can go above and beyond what's expected in the normal curriculum. Finally, D.Ed did a study with formative assessment. What she did was she made it more kind of a concrete thing that teachers can use within their classroom by using formative assessment. So she taught a lot of formative assessment strategies and had the teachers really take that back to their classroom and get comfortable with formative assessment. So then they knew where each of the students were, what level they were at with a certain concept. She then used that as a bridge to start differentiating within their classrooms. So she said, if you know that the students are here, you might have these students struggling, then you can have more focused instruction in that area the next day. Whereas if you know that these students have mastered the concept, you can give them a more challenging assignment. So as districts and schools start to implement differentiation programs, there's a few things they need to make sure happens. One is they need to make sure that the administrators and the teachers are on board. They also need to make sure they're giving the teachers good, concrete strategies that they can take back into their classrooms the very next day. And finally, if a teacher wanted to get some initiative and start differentiating within their own classroom, they have some strategies they can use as well. They could start using more formative assessment. They could use classroom competitions. And they could also really get to know their students so that they could make sure they're meeting the individual educational needs of each and every student. And that's what differentiation is really all about. Thank you.